Roy, first of all, just your thoughts on what's happened at Leicester last week?
Yeah, shocking, of course. An enormous tragedy for the family of Vichai, for Leicester City Football Club. It must have been an enormously difficult week for them, having lost someone who'd done so much for them and someone who was so much loved at the club as well. So, of course, like everyone, my sympathies and condolences go out to everyone concerned, in particular the family, but also, I suppose, the wider footballing family at Leicester. And one can only hope that they'll find a way to grieve and recover from what is obviously a massive loss.
If we look at the football, what injury news have you got for us ahead of the game of the weekend?
Nothing new. I mean, the three players who suffered minor knocks on Saturday weren't able to travel with us to Middlesbrough. That's MacArthur, Wilf and Chet Kouyaté. They've all recovered well, which is good news. I always thought they would, but it's always nice to have that confirmed. Christian Benteke is making good progress. He'll be continuing his programme of rehabilitation. Joel Ward is still recovering from his thigh strain, and Connor Wickham has picked up a new thigh strain which stopped him from taking any part in the game on Wednesday evening, so he will also be out now for a further period of time, which is a shame, a disappointment, because he'd been doing a lot of training and had been training on a regular basis, and we were harbouring the notion that maybe he would now be fit enough to take part, but he isn't.
From the game at the weekend, from the Arsenal game, what's that given the team in training this week? A little bit more belief, a little bit more confidence?
Well, it's today really that I had a chance to see that team, because as I say, on Monday was a warm down day. Tuesday, of course, was a second day recovery, and furthermore, several of those players I just mentioned to you played on the Sunday run fit to train. So it's really been today is the first day I've had a chance to see them since the game and work with them as a group, and the mood was very good. The weather's been kind to us as well. That always helps your mood to some extent, but I thought the spirit and the mood were excellent today, and I believe there's no reason why it shouldn't be, because I thought the performance, as I said quite extensively after the game, was a good one, and that the players should feel quite proud of that performance that they gave, and even feel a little bit sorry for themselves that they only had 1 point to show for their efforts.
But what are your thoughts looking ahead to the Chelsea game? Does it change any of your thinking or going into the game if Eden Hazard does play a part?
No, I expect Eden Hazard to play. I always expect teams that we play against to play their best team, and most teams these days change their teams for the midweek fixtures in the EFL Cup. There's not that many that actually play the same team, so I'd be very surprised if the team against us isn't the team that's been playing in the first 10 games or 11 games of the season and has done so well, and that will include Eden Hazard. And for us, we know that at our best, and when we work as well and as hard as we did against Arsenal, we can make life difficult for even the very best of teams, and we'll have to try and do the same again against Chelsea, because we're playing a team once again of the same calibre with an awful lot of extremely good quality players who can hurt you at any moment in time.
Palace have got a decent record against Chelsea in recent years, both at home and at Stamford Bridge. Does that play any effect in the game in terms of psychological players going in believing they can get a result there?
No, because teams change. I mean, presumably those games we were even a changed team from the team that played the two matches that I was in charge of last season against Chelsea. If you go further back than that, there'll be even fewer players who played in the game. So, but most of our players will have played against Chelsea, and they'll know the opposition, they'll know the quality of the opposition, and they'll know that the task is a daunting one, because they're unbeaten this year, Chelsea. 10 games with 7 wins and 3 draws. That's an incredibly good start to a season, and they've done it playing good football, and they've even had a lot of success in the Europa League. So we can't disguise the enormity of the task. We can't try and make out that it's going to be easier than it is going to be. But we've played Liverpool here, we've played Arsenal. There's two teams in the same ballpark as Chelsea, two very, very good teams, and on both occasions I think we've played well and did more than just compete. I thought we came very close to even being able to win against those two teams. So our belief and confidence is based on that, much more than the fact that results in the past may or may not have gone our way.
Does the fact that the top sides won't really worry about so much about what you're doing, they'll play their own game, will that give your counter-attacking style a chance to impose itself a bit more?
Well, we don't have a counter-attacking style, but like all teams, we try and counter-attack quickly and well when we lose the ball, but we don't actually play counter-attacking football per se, because we tend to play on the front foot and we don't just sink and allow teams to attack us at will. We actually go toe-to-toe for the best part, and on some occasions, like in the second half against Arsenal, we're not only toe-to-toe, we're probably the dominant team on the field. So nothing will change in that respect. I don't know what Chelsea's attitude towards this. It's a question for Sarri, I suppose. Are you so confident that you don't have to worry about Crystal Palace, and is it their counter-attacking football that bothers you, or are you concerned about their general play? Only he could answer that question. I have no idea. I don't prepare for that. I don't ever prepare for teams or managers who will underestimate us, because I think that we've shown enough this season to deserve not to be underestimated, and I have too much respect for the professionalism and the preparation of the opposing team and the opposing managers to really believe that they are taking the game against Crystal Palace lightly or nonchalantly because it's a foregone conclusion they'll win the game. If that was the case, of course I'd be probably quite happy, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Right.
Hi Roy, you say Wilf is recovering well from his knock. Are you expecting him to play some part against Chelsea?
Oh yes, he jarred his shoulder on a fall. I think it might have been, when the penalty was given, it was quite a heavy fall, and he jarred his shoulder, which of course is quite painful. But there was never any question that wouldn't be good by the time we reached the latter stage of the week. And he trained on Wednesday with the small group of players who were left here, and of course he trained with everybody today, so I never had any fears about that.
You mentioned Eden Hazard earlier. Is he?
I answered a question about Eden Hazard. I didn't actually mention him, so just a point of order there, but go on.
Stand corrected. Is he the best player in the league technically for you?
I don't know. There are so many of them. I don't know how you compare, quite frankly. I really don't. Manchester City must have 3 or 4 players who would come in the category of fantastic technicians. Man United have, Chelsea have, Arsenal have, Wolverhampton have. We've got one, Wilf Zaha, magnificent technical player. I don't know how you compare and say this one is the best. If you're asking me, do I think he's a really, really good football player, hinging on a great football player whose career so far has been exceptional and who continues year after year to show his worth, then of course more than happy to hold my hand up for that one and sing his praises. But I don't want to get drawn into who's best, is it this one or that one. I just think he's one of a number of extremely good players that are in this Premier League, and that as an opponent you have to deal with. But if you were neutral and you weren't worried about having to try and stop them doing damage to the team you're coaching, you'd be just sitting back and admiring their play and being very happy that players of that quality are in the Premier League for you to watch every week.
And just a word on your opposite number on Sunday, Maurizio Sarri. What have you made of him in his time in English football so far? He was particularly well known to many football fans before his arrival. What have you made of him so far?
He's pretty well known in Italy, I think. There are football fans in other countries in England. It's a worldwide game. I think when I spent some time in Napoli, it's almost a couple of years ago now, and a lot of people stopped me in the street because I've got a past in Italy myself. They had plenty to say about Maurizio Sarri, and all of it was positive. So I wasn't surprised when, after the magnificent job he did at Napoli, when Chelsea needed a new coach, they turned towards him. I am also full of admiration for the way that he's been able to settle in so quickly and to have such a good start with the team, because that's by no means a foregone conclusion either. I think the appointment of Gianfranco Zola alongside him was also an extremely good appointment, because it's good when you come to a new country to have someone working alongside you who A, knows the football extremely well, knows the club very well, and B, is such a well-respected figure. I was lucky enough to have Giacinto Facchetti working in that sort of capacity with me when I was at Inter, and I think that's been replicated here with Chelsea and Gianfranco. But what is there to say about someone who's come into the country, settled in enormously quickly? The players, when they talk about him and the training methods, are all very, very positive. And you can't do an awful lot better than play 10 and remain unbeaten at the end of them. So I'm sure that he will have done an extremely good job in preparing his team to play against us. And we know that if we're going to get points from that game, we will have to be every bit as good as we were in the games against the previous top teams we played, i.e. Liverpool here at home when we lost, and Arsenal when we drew.
And just finally, we spoke to Andros Townsend earlier. He's enjoying an extended run in the side at the moment. He said to us that one of his big frustrations at the moment and his biggest challenge is to score more goals for Crystal Palace. Do you share his frustrations, and what can he do about that?
Well, he can't do more than he does. You know, that is to work very, very hard at his game, and to work hard as well on the tactical side of the game that we do work on a daily basis, and to give his all. That's all he can do, really. I mean, the fact is that we are creating chances, so I'm sure that with the quality of players we have, those chances will be converted into goals sooner or later. But it's good to hear that the players themselves are accepting that responsibility, are taking on, if you like, that accountability, that, you know, it's up to me when the chances come my way. I've got to convert them, and I find that very consoling to know that the messages that we're preaching are obviously getting across, and the players are taking the responsibility. Andros has been an ever-present, really, since I came to the team, so it's not so much that he's enjoying an extended run this season. He's basically never been out of the team unless through injury all the time I've been here, because his work rate, his endeavour, his determination, his professionalism has been of enormous help to us in last season's fight for survival, and it will be a really important factor this season as we try to move up the table.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay,
Roy, hello. You've spoken already about Sarri and how impressed you are by the job he's already doing at Chelsea. Obviously, they've got a very impressive squad as well. Are you playing a team this weekend that could win the Premier League this season, do you think?
Well, I think, of course, you could say that, yes, that we're playing a team that can win the Premier League, but there's other very, very good candidates as well. So I'm not prepared to rank them. I'm not prepared to say they have a better chance to win the league than their major rivals, which at the moment I suppose will be Man City, Liverpool. But I certainly am not discounting the likes of the Arsenals and the Manchester Uniteds, because I think they're very, very much in the mix. And what's more, there's one or two teams just outside of that that are looking pretty good at the moment. So where they rank, if you like, in terms of the betting, I have no idea. But if you're asking me if they've got the quality of players, the quality of team organisation, the quality of administration at the club, then the obvious answer is of course they can, because they've won it several times in the last few years. And when you've won a league several times in the last 4 or 5 years, there's nothing to stop you doing it in the future years either.
There have been a few incidents recently, fans getting onto the pitch, items being thrown at managers and players during games. I wondered if you had any thoughts as to whether you feel security can be improved for you and for players?
I've never seen anything thrown at a manager or coach or a bench in England in the time since I've been back. It happened to me in Italy. I got cut in Italy once, but it's not happened to me. Certainly I've not seen the instance. You obviously referred to something that happened in a very volatile derby up in Scotland. People running onto the field, we all deplore it. You know, we all think it shouldn't be done. I think in most instances the stewards and the people whose job it is to prevent that do an excellent job. I don't think one should start trying to be overcritical when one or two people, get through the net, as it were. But of course, I don't do anything other than deploy it in the same way as everyone else, and to wish the stewards and the security people at football grounds continued good work, really. But there's nothing like it used to be in the past. You know, football has become, it's much harder for fans to invade pitches today than it was, and it seems to be harder for fans to throw things onto the field than once it was. You should have played at Hartleyvale in South Africa in the years, running up and down the touchline. No one wanted to take a throw in. Those were the days.
Okay, yeah. That concludes the broadcast section. Thank you.